Good morning. A change to our webinar. Welcome to the Virtue Labs webinar. Today we've got Paul Martin from TagSpace, and we're going to be looking at some augmented reality, focusing on social distancing for events, cities in the new norm. As I always do, quick rules. We're going to not exceed 30 minutes. So again, you can stick with us for the whole period. Find us on Facebook, find us on LinkedIn, find us on YouTube. Set a reminder for the following week, and obviously hit like, share, and we always welcome any feedback. We'll be taking questions around about 15 to 20 minutes into the webinar, so start firing those straight away. I'm Dave Cummins. Let's introduce the guys. Mike, over to you.
Morning or afternoon, depending where you are. I'm Mike Hibbard, the Services and Middle East Manager for the Virtue Lab, concentrating on drones and services and data capture.
Perfect. And Paul.
Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Martin, the CEO and founder of TagSpace, and I'll give you a bit more information about me in about 2 slides' time.
Excellent. Okay, well, without further ado, again, Paul, we've been talking to you for well, probably a number of almost years now. From an augmented reality perspective, I think what you guys do is phenomenal. The best was landing a ship inside an entire sports stadium. Once you showed me that, you'd won me forever. So we thought we'd have you on and show you some of the tech. Particularly, I think we're trying to focus, at this time with COVID, on the social distancing for events, cities in the new norm. I think it's a cool idea. So I'll hand across to you, and I'll bring up your slides.
Well, that's the spoiler done with. Millennium Falcon in the stadium. My work here is done. I think we're going to cut it short. Good. Okay. Have you got a presentation view?
Yeah, it's up now.
Excellent. Good. So hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And I'm going to start with an intro. Then I'll lead into a very quick catch-up or learner, wherever you may be positioned, on augmented reality. Then I'm going to spend the rest of my talk just giving examples about how AR can be used in outdoor environments, getting people out of the house to give them information, navigation, and fun, but at the same time in a way that can promote safe and spatial distancing. And I say spatial, since at TagSpace, we believe technologies such as location-based AR can be used to keep people spatially apart, but not necessarily socially apart. If there's a safe way during times like this to get people out of the house and be about, but without being in close proximity to each other, then that's got to be a win. So a quick bit about me. Again, I'm Paul Martin, the founder and CEO of TagSpace, and I'm ostensibly one of the world's first ever video game testers, going right the way back to 1987, which was probably the birthplace of my video games career. Commercially, my career started in '96 as a video games developer focused on computer graphics and video game graphics engines. I worked for some of the world's largest companies, including Sony Computer Entertainment and Electronic Arts. And then 2004, set up my first startup with my co-founders, Slant Games in Vancouver, BC, a AAA game studio. We grew to over 220 employees and took over 100 million in revenues. And then 2015 was my second startup, which is TagSpace, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. TagSpace is a B2B SaaS company that makes it incredibly easy for customers to create location-based AR experiences. They bring their own content, they use our tools to create the location-based AR, and then they can integrate it trivially in a white label version into their own apps. All of our technology at TagSpace is 100% proprietary. It's backed by 4 patents, and we've already got users in 47 countries. So first off, crash course. What is AR, MR, XR, VR, whatever? So first off, virtual reality or VR is where end users are fully immersed in a computer graphics environment. They don't see the real world around them, or they are completely enclosed in the graphics world. Now, the classic definition of augmented reality is where you get to see the real world, but with computer graphics overlaid on top of it. Right? Now, mixed reality or extended reality, MR or XR, are generally being coined as the sort of newer incarnation of augmented reality, which is where the computer graphics objects really feel like they are anchored in the real world. For example, as you can see on that image on the far right there, the computer graphics duck is partially occluded by the table that's in front of it. Another examples might include using real-world lighting sources to light the virtual graphics objects, or vice versa, having virtual graphics object cast shadows into the real world to give that sort of better blend of the virtual with the real. Now, there's a few flavors of augmented reality, especially when it comes to anchoring. Anchoring is where we attach the computer graphics to something in the real world. Now, for image-based AR anchoring, this is where we attach the computer graphics to something that the computer recognizes, typically an easily to recognize image, or in the, as you can see on the left there, a QR code. We at TagSpace are very much focused on what's known as location-based AR. So instead of trying to recognize a particular image or even a 3D object, such as a landmark, all we need to put our AR content is a latitude, longitude, a real world coordinate, and then we can attach our graphics to that using a pretty clever combination of sensors and GPS. So about the AR industry, the real catalyst for AR, things are really going to explode when there becomes available a really commoditized and highly adopted smart glasses offering, because that's when we get a truly hands-free, always-on AR experience. And this is likely going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. But in the meantime, we can enjoy AR using an augmented camera view in our smartphones by holding it up, seeing the real world through the camera view, and seeing the computer graphics mixed within. But to paint just a really quick picture of the AR wearables history, let's go all the way back to 1968, where the innocuously named Sword of Damocles was born. And ostensibly, this is the sort of birth, the birth moment, the birth event of both augmented reality and virtual reality. This same headset, kind of clunky as it and quite scary as it looks, actually had both modes. It supported virtual reality, where you just threw the shutters down, and then augmented reality, as you can see here, with the shutters up. And then really in the consumer space, we didn't see a whole lot of new activity happening until 2014, when Google launched their Google Glass. And love it or hate it, it was coined as a bit of a joke. It never really took off, but at least it was the very first example of, a lightweight, potentially commoditized price point offering that shows augmented reality. Unfortunately, I think Google were a bit too worried, should I say, about users, accidentally walking into buses or flights of stairs, and so they made the whole experience just a bit too clunky for it to be super, super useful. And then over 2014 to 2018, we saw a plethora of new smart glass devices out there. Again, they were kind of lightweight, they were kind of wearable, but nothing that really sort of rocked anybody's worlds. Apparently stuffing an ultra high resolution pixel display, a couple of cameras, attitude and location sensors, networking and storage, all into a lightweight and fashionable pair of glasses turns out to be quite tricky. And then in 2018, after raising about $2 billion in venture capital, Magic Leap finally announced their much anticipated consumer smart glasses. And we were hoping this is going to be the one. But due to several issues, mostly around price point and market positioning, they pivoted away from consumers, and they're now focused on industrial use cases, effectively going into competition with Microsoft's HoloLens. So sadly, Magic Leap, the one, turned out to not be the one. Sorry, kid. And now here in 2020, we've got some promising new AR glasses on the horizon. They were unveiled at CES much earlier this year. And the one that we're watching really closely is Nreal. These seem to be the first sort of glimpse on the horizon of something that actually looks cool, super lightweight, and at least ostensibly, it comes pretty close to a Magic Leap experience, but in a much lighter weight form factor, and the price point, if they stick with it, is going to be very commoditized.
We've got a couple sets of these in the office. We're having a bit of a play around last week. They're good, and
we're about to get our hands on them too.
Yeah.
Right on. And then just a brief glimpse into the future, pun intended. 2037, my crystal ball / spidey senses tell me that's when we're going to have AR contact lenses and possibly even implants, which might sound a bit creepy, but obviously the medical benefits of this for partially sighted people is going to be intense and immense. But also it means that everybody will get to enjoy their own sort of view of the world with their own information overlaid in front of them, and this is where things are really going to go sort of next level cool. So I'm going to start digging into the meat and potatoes of my talk after that bit of background on AR and a bit of foreground. And I usually sort of start my talks these days just talking about maps. Right? So maps, they're enormously helpful. Think about them. They've been around forever. They let you get from A to B and find new places along the way. Now, maps, enormously helpful, except when they're not. So think about all of the times when even Google Maps doesn't help us. For example, in the good old days, think all the way back to last year, when you could be at a music festival or a business conference, but you were lost, couldn't find your friends or the exit or the location of your next meeting. Or in these current times when you're trying to visualize hotspots for an invisible virus, or exactly what does 10 feet of social distancing look like. But now picture this instead. You hold up your phone and looking through the camera view, the power of augmented reality instantly lets you find all the places you need to go. And what's more, you can find live information such as who's playing on the stage right in front of you, who's coming up next, or even transit timetables, bus timetables, train times, all visualized right at the places where they count, no longer having to go off and search for them through pages of the internet. So also picture this instead. Visualize the invisible, such as coronavirus risk areas, displaying them as an augmented heat map overlaid on top of the real world. And again, we can visualize this in real time as long as we have access to the right kind of information. So these are all the experiences that dozens of companies around the world are already enjoying thanks to their new friends, TagSpace. So for a quick shameless plug, our B2B platform allows companies to make location-based experiences just like these in less than 1 hour and no code is required. And I'll show you a quick example of how this all works. So creators log into our portal, they drag and drop pins onto the map for each location around their event space or the cities where they want media to appear. They can even select 3D objects from a library that they want to have roaming around in situ in that environment. Once they're done, they receive a single URL that's all that's required to integrate into their existing app, or they can just publish them straight to their usual social channels or marketing channels. End users enjoy the experience via our plugin, which is called Discover. And then what you're seeing here is very real experiences captured 100% from real music festival. This was actually Splendor in the Grass, a Live Nations festival. And this was just from last year. You can even see it works incredibly well at nighttime. And then users can capture and share their favorite moments straight to social. So that was in the good old days before COVID hit us. And we were making a pretty big splash at big events, including music festivals, sports games, and conferences. And as David gave the game away, we did indeed land a life-size Millennium Falcon. This is actually a few years ago now. We actually landed a life-size Millennium Falcon into the Yankees Stadium, had it hovering 20 feet above the pitch, right above second base during a Star Wars themed match. And then, since then we've done a few other, theme / gimmicky / marketing-y moments, sort of big wow factor, shared experience type stuff, including giant robots roaming around Melbourne for Pause Fest. And then we were actually the first company to power augmented reality navigation for Web Summit last year in Portugal.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I watched movies when I was a kid, and it's very clear that the bad guy is fake. You watch movies now with the kids, and you wouldn't know what's real and isn't. And I can imagine in the future when we've got contacts in, not looking through our phone, that you can just quickly peer over the top, and the world could become quite a scary place, because it's so immersive and it's so real that you could sit there and think, oh my goodness, the Millennium Falcon did actually just land in front of me.
Yeah, 100%. And if you're into this kind of stuff, highly recommend a book called Rainbow's End. You can Google it, and it really paints a very, very succinct picture of what an always-on AR world looks like, and it's actually not that scary. It's very, very cool. Just think of having an infinite number of filters that you can flick through, even night vision. Everybody's got their own sort of view of the world, and it's actually sort of rare in that particular book that people flip to what they call clear view, where you're just sort of seeing regular vanilla eyeball view. Anyway, so until it's safe for people to meet again in large numbers, what we're doing at TagSpace is currently focused on promoting self-guided city experiences, because we can allow people to discover new features of their cities and enjoy multimedia content hidden in plain sight. And unlike traditional guided tours, people can do this on their own schedule and away from crowds. So we've also started to power smart city experiences where we can integrate our AR into existing city platforms to allow residents to view new layers of information about their cities superimposed onto their phone cameras. So for example, as I said before, transit timetables, places of interest, or even coronavirus risk areas. And earlier this year, we actually created our response to COVID-19 as part of our foray into smart cities. And so again, we can help both residents, citizens, and also city officials either visualize information that already exists. For example, historical population density maps. We could turn those into risk areas. Typically if there's a large historical cluster of people in a particular area, for example, a dense shopping center or popular parks, or even the most popular places of popular parks, we can take that historic data and superimpose it into a heat map that would show, what is the risk area, what is the risk of, you as a user being in that area. And again, this is just one of the many ways where we can use technology to visualize the invisible. Because again, you can't see or feel this thing. It's why the sort of conventional wisdom right now is everybody has to act as if they have this thing, in order to protect others around them. Whereas, if we've got some sort of semblance of being able to paint a visualization on top of the real world, it can be a real helper. And then introduce into that tags that can show current information. For example, what are the current opening and closing hours of particular supermarkets? We've seen across the world, certain supermarkets, especially the larger ones, would have limited hours where they only open, from 8 a.m. and earlier through to the elderly or people that are at higher risk of contracting the virus, and then everybody else, say from 8 or 8:30 onwards. So we give this sort of live, real-time, updated information, without you having to sit there and manually go to a website and sit there scrolling through the information, trying to find, what's the newest information du jour. And then also, what we're doing as part of our smart city platforms, and again, this is really just another information layer for COVID-19, is allowing people to place their own tags. So we've already been doing this, for the last couple of years at music festivals. For example, I want to find where I left my tent, my car, or my friends. So now we've essentially retasked some of that functionality where citizens can drop their own private tags, to discreetly communicate to authorities things that they're not happy with. For example, in your neighborhood, if there's been damage done to your bus shelter or a great big pothole has appeared in the road, or in these COVID times, let's say there's an elderly person that you're concerned about, you don't want to put them at risk by going up and knocking on their door. So you could just drop a tag, right outside there and potentially alert a city official to, go off and swing by with somebody who's qualified to go and check in on them. So these are some of the ways, again, that we can deploy location-based augmented reality to both monitor, alert, and message the general public. And then the other thing that we can do, and we're already doing this for our customers, is provide analytics to show how people are moving around in any space, whether it's a small event space, a large event space, a music festival, or even an entire city. And it doesn't need to be a creepy Big Brother kind of a way. We do this all anonymously. We don't know anything about the people that are being, whose locations are reported. All we know is just that they've been at a particular time in a particular place. We know nothing about them. And this in turn can be enormously helpful for providing things like you can see on the right-hand image there, heat maps of pedestrian foot traffic in any given place at any given time. And this is exactly what Google's been doing forever. If the analogy I like to give is, when you're in your car and you're using Google's navigation mode of the maps, how it gives you a red line where it shows, traffic jams or slow-moving traffic areas. It does that because it's got historical information of how long it takes to get from A to B, and it knows other people that are on that segment of the journey ahead of you. So we can do that kind of thing as well in real time for anonymous pedestrian traffic.
So, a fantastic one the other day where a guy in India, I think it was, put a wheelbarrow and 100 mobile phones in it and walked it in front of his house so that Google kept diverting the cars away. So I just think that's brilliant.
I read that too. I've got a quick question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Paul, I've got a quick question for you just while we're on the subject of technology. How secure is the platform? I'm just thinking, is it possible for somebody with sinister intentions to, hack into this and manipulate the data either to their advantage or to, for some sinister purpose?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'd love to say we're important enough right now that we'd be targeted, but sadly that's not the case. And quite frankly as well, the information that we store on our platform, it has great value in terms of business intelligence, but in terms of user knowledge, we don't know a whole lot about our users, quite honestly. Again, we're a B2B2C company, and so any user information is essentially passed straight through, through to our customers. So that's more a sort of contract between our customers and their end users. Yeah, in some weird kind of way, I would like to be targeted because it means we're very high on the visibility list. Cool. So just to finish up this bit of my presentation before we go into some Q&A, I'm just going to show you a few other examples of how location-based AR can be used to get people outside and moving safely and promoting healthy living, at the same time as giving businesses a new location-based platform for out-of-home marketing, because that's essentially part of our business model. And I wanted to show you a few different examples of how we, as an as a location-based AR company, are helping getting people outside. It's a topic that's very close to heart. All of our team are outdoor people. That's what we love about our product, is the fact that we can give people these new, fresh experiences in the cities around them, in the green spaces, in the parks. Promote healthiness, but at the same time, we can factor in this new landscape of coronavirus or any other nasty that might come to haunt us in the future, and show how we can keep people apart, but let them enjoy walking tours and discover new and interesting things in a way that they can do it in their own time and keep away from other people. So I'll show you another few videos and I'll talk through a couple of them. So this one here is an activation that we did just over a year ago now. It's in Lisbon in Portugal, a little area called Belém, and plenty of beautiful features and attractions there. And our customer is a company called Fever, who feature city experiences. So as you can see in this video, all of the tags are featuring content of theirs where they've promoted local businesses that are in this particular area. So everybody gets a nice, well-rounded value experience. The end users get a free self-guided walking tour of their area. They find things they're interested in, they click on them, they get a deal. The business gets more attention, the users get a cool experience for free, so everybody's happy. And that's kind of our MO. Here's another example. This is a pilot we did about 3 years ago now. And I'll talk over it. This is a pilot for the British Columbia Film Commission. As you may or may not be aware, there are heaps and heaps and heaps of TV shows and films shot around beautiful British Columbia, because they can simulate most locations all around the planet right in this one province. And in fact, they've even been known to sort of shoot scenes from Mars in various places in the British Columbia desert. So here's a great example of getting people into the outside. Again, it can be nicely spatially distanced, but you can still do this as part of the family or with a group of friends. And this is an example where we get fans of this TV show, The 100, out to the exact locations where some of those visceral scenes were shot. We can put them right into the woods of the forests of North Vancouver, where a lot of these scenes were filmed. Put them right on the place where the camera person stuck the tripod and started the camera spinning, and even put virtual set props into the woods around them to sort of recreate that experience. So again, it's like a window right into the director's mind, putting them where they can smell the smells and enjoy the scenery, right where it was shot. Here's another example. This is one of our customers, Quest a Game. I think they may be tuned in, so a quick shout out to them. And we've actually integrated our AR into their biodiversity game that is live, for tens of thousands of players all around the world. And they essentially run around capturing pictures of flora and fauna. And through our integration, they can now view all of those images right at the locations where they were taken by other users as our AR tags. The video streaming, I think, across this is a little bit jerky, but rest assured, in real life, this is a buttery smooth experience. The last example I'll give you is from our lovely hometown here in Byron Bay, Australia, where we activated both a walking tour for tourists that came into town for the International Film Festival, and they got to enjoy like a walking tour of the town, show them around the local beaches and the historic lighthouse. But also each tag featured little segments promoting some of the films that were going to be shown during that festival. So I'll just finish up with this clip.
You're just trying to show off where you live now, aren't you? I'll show you a picture of where I'm staying right now. It's not quite as glamorous.
There we are. We're back.
Paul, we've got
excellent.
5 minutes.
Really good product.
Loads. Mike, do you want to start? I always steal the questions.
Yeah. Going back to sort of your walking tour type experience, or a small business area, city centre. If people were restaurants and bars and clubs and what have you, wanted to sign up and be part of a TagSpace scenario, ballpark, and I'm sort of putting you on the spot here. What's the cost implication to them to be part of this?
Yeah, so we're not really working with SMEs at the moment. That's going to appear in our pricing stack actually very soon. And in fact, we're even going to be opening this up to the general public over the coming months as well. Right now, we're more B2B2C, in as much as we tend to work with city experience providers. So think companies like Time Out Magazine. They're not actually our customer, but I'm giving an example of a well-known company. We're actually working with companies like Fever, who have got 20 million active weekly users around Europe right now. Very similar sort of MO to Time Out. They offer city experiences all around Europe, and their customers are the SMEs who will sign up with them to be promoted. So we're giving them another engagement channel. So that's how we work at the moment. Then we tend to do this on a monthly pricing basis. So for an enterprise integration, we'll charge an activation fee that could be around $25,000. But then typically we charge anywhere between $1,000 and $10,000 a month for access to the platform and the tools and the analytics.
It's fantastic, and whether TagSpace are going that way or the wider picture, where do you see it going? For example, I've seen lots of stuff about being able to have windscreens polarized, and the passenger in the vehicle can sit and watch an augmented reality environment as they go. Where's it going next?
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to be moving more towards that sort of always-on experience, and I mean it's not going to happen over the next sort of 2 to 3 years. Because even outside of the technology, there's going to be this sort of consumer education shift. Right now we've gotten enormously good at being really working with really inefficient information sources. I mean, case in point, think about even on your social feed. Think about when you're flicking through your Insta feed or your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed. We're so used to being indexed by time, where to get to the things that are older, you've got to sit there scrolling through pages. And so as such, it means that your photos from 2 months ago, let alone 2 years ago, they're basically gone, right? They're not going to see the light of day unless you're looking for something very particular. Whereas location-based AR can put those media, those memories and the information right where it counts at the location. So you can rediscover, the old photos, right at the places where you originally took them. So that's probably the most exciting thing for me. Love the smart windshields concept, 100%, especially for passengers, and love it even more when we get to enjoy those in our self-driving cars. We get our feet up on the dash and wake me up, when I'm 20 minutes out of the city after red eye. That's the stuff that really excites me.
And I find myself asking this to almost everyone now. What is 5G going to do for you, and what's 5G going to do for augmented reality?
Well, there's some of that I could tell you, and some of that I can't tell you, because we're actually working with Deutsche Telekom right now on some 5G core use cases. What I can tell you though is the low latency and high bandwidth will allow things like much more access to media. So, for example, those really immersive, streaming 3D content. If there's streaming media sources, we'll be able to do way more of those concurrently. We're actually doing some pretty cool things with topology, learning more about the world around us so we can position very accurately 3D objects, using massive information sets that previously we couldn't stream over a 4G or LTE environment. So we're doing some pretty good stuff there around 5G and also the associated technologies with the mobile edge network. So watch this space, tune into us if you want to follow us. We're going to be making a lot of noise about this very soon.
Well, it's probably a good segue. How can people get in touch with you, Paul?
Yeah, through our website, tagspace.com. There's a reach out to us page in there. We'd love to hear from you. We're also on all of your favorite social channels. You'll find us on LinkedIn, you'll find us on Insta, you'll find us on Facebook. Love to hear from you. Love the comments, even love the trolling. We love all of you. Let's have it.
Good. Paul, thanks so much for coming on. It was a pleasure, and it was really useful and insightful. So thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Great. Thanks for inviting me, guys. See you.
Just quickly for next week, we are releasing Virtue Services, one of our products, a new website going live. So we'll be releasing that next Wednesday at 12:30. Please tune in. Thanks very much.